Boston has a long tradition of arts organizations. It also has a growing arts sector and what many say is a growing need for diversity and inclusion. Helping to meet that need is the goal of Dunamis, a nonprofit that provides professional development and support for artists and arts managers. To tell us about Dunamis and an event to mark its second anniversary is the executive director, Cottle, and the arts management apprenticeship coordinator, Jazmins Garcia. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start with Jawani because, in this city, we have all this opportunity in the arts, changing city, and how does Dunamis fit into that?
Yeah, so what is important to us is that, one, people know that there are all those opportunities, and then more importantly, how to navigate within that. So when you're young and just starting out, there's a particular vision you might have for your career, and you think, oh, Tony's or movies, which is fine, but there's also a great thriving career that you can have here, and how do you take the steps to kind of go through that? So our organization is all about providing and empowering young people and emerging artists and arts managers with the tools they need to build careers that are sustainable and equitable so they can last.
Jasmine, you've been on that trajectory. What has it been like for you?
It's funny, yeah. I know that I was with Jay in college. He was a senior, I was a freshman, and we kind of, talked about in general what was it like for us as artists, but also he was a history major at one point, and I was a sociology major, and so just really trying to find the bridge of just what does it mean to be successful and what does it look like and the different ways of defining your success. And so I think I've been really lucky. I think I've learned a lot even as an individual and also in helping create programming that kind of answers those questions of just hey, I'm all of these different things as well as an artist, as well as an arts manager. And how do I define my success and how do I kind of build my ladder up towards whatever it is that I want to achieve.
Well, Johnny, one of the things you give emerging artists professional development help. What does that mean exactly?
So it's the business skills that we say of being an artist. So how do you manage your money? How do you file your taxes? These are very we say it's very unsexy, the kind of things that we're teaching, but it's still just as important to sustaining yourself. So we also do work around mental health and maintaining your wellness as you build your artistic practice, but also being intentional. That's something that's really key to us. What do you want your career to look like? As Jasmine was saying, how do you put together that ladder? And what are the tangible steps you can take to really build your career in a way that makes sense for you?
Jasmine, you mentioned sociology, and a lot of people say, what does that have to do with the arts? That's academic. But explain. I'm sure you know the answer to that.
I mean, I feel like I've definitely created my own kind of connective tissue, and that is just with any kind of art form, it's really about understanding your humanity and the humanity of others. And I think that once you kind of can see yourself in other people, it allows you to see yourself in other people. I mean, the one thing about art and why we need it, it's about connection. And I think that especially in the Green Mile program, where one of the things that artists have to do is that they have to what's it called? Where they have to define their
artist statement.
Yes, they have to create an artist statement about really identifying who you are, what is it that you want to share about yourself with the world. And so, I mean, to be honest, I've drawn a lot of from my sociology experience, and it's also helped me become a better teacher in a sense, or a mentor, and helping people along the way, defining that for themselves.
This is Being on News. We're talking with Cottle and Jazmins Garcia from Dunamis. Jawani, what about this event you're having? Because you're going to be honoring somebody. I guess this may be a role model for your organization, too.
Absolutely. So we incorporated 2 years ago, and so this is our second birthday that we're celebrating. But Dunamis, the idea actually began my very first semester in grad school. In a class called Ideas into Action, and it was led by Kit Jenkins, who is the co-founder and executive director of Raw Artworks, and she kind of just challenged us to say, what is an idea you have to change your community, and then how would you go about implementing that? So that's how Dunamis first began, and then she was really helpful to help us kind of grow and move forward, as well as looking at the work that she's built out at Raw, both internally with how a lot of the young people that are there call it home. It's a place where they found themselves, where they kind of found the future, but also the transformation that has happened in Lynn as a community was really, as you mentioned, a role model for us. So we're going to be honoring her this year, as well as some of our community partners at our Thank You for Two event. And we're also celebrating just a culture of investing in folks. We would not have gotten to where we are right now if people had not invested in us before we had anything tangible to give. And so we really want to thank everyone for that, but also celebrate a culture, hopefully, that we can build within this large arts community about investing in other people to just help them get to the next level.
Jasmine, what is your idea about that, changing your community? Is that like a political agenda, or is that a different kind of change, maybe?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, I think that we're really interested in,
Could it be how people in the
it's like-
community see themselves?
Yeah, and I think that we are looking a lot at accessibility and about what kind of art is kind of being put out there, but also just continuously engaging the community within the arts, and that I think that we've kind of come to a conclusion that we have a duty to kind of reflect the people that we want to serve.
Jazz is actually launching a program this Saturday. It's our arts management apprenticeship, and the questions that they're unpacking this over the course of the summer is, how do you build pipelines? What is equity? What is leadership? What is culturally responsive programming? And so I think in that way we are trying to facilitate change. How do we get people who want to make careers, again, in the arts, whether as artists or as managers, here at the table in leadership roles or building sustainable careers? And that's the change that we're trying to facilitate.
Jasmine, you've worked with the Bach Center. We think of that as a sort of a mainstream place in Boston. Has there been transformation going on, either for you or for the place where you're working?
I think, the Bach Center is an amazing nonprofit. And I work in I work in the education department, and what we do is help facilitate arts programs with both young kids as well as with teens. With young children, we go out into schools around the city where it's either through playing games or just through dialogue, where they actually kind of create their own content, and we have teaching artists who will pull from what they make, and they actually create their own performance. And with our teens, we both have a summer and a school year program where we hire teens to be artists, where it's either through dance, music, or acting. It's through the lens of a social justice theme that they choose, and they create their own final showcase.
Giovanni, we talk about reforming the mainstream in Boston, but we also have these new emerging venues for artists and new organizations. How do you see Dunamis fitting into that?
Call us, everybody. Because again, if we're trying to provide a platform for these people, I think what's great is that there seems to be, at a very community level, a focus on, as Jazz was saying earlier, accessibility. How do we make these spaces, these venues, these opportunities accessible to all people? And so we have a cohort of people that we're bringing up that we would love to plug in, but also if these facilities are interfacing with other artists and arts managers as well, send them over to us so that we can help them kind of move forward in their work as well.
Also, if you wanted to mention really quick, the house sessions.
Yeah, so for example, we have the house sessions that we do about once every 2 months, and that's about providing a platform for artists that have never had their own showcase before. And so every 2 months, in a really intimate setting, they get to put together a set list, they get to have this big audience, they get to make some money and kind of have that. So we're really interested in not only giving people tools, but also providing them with platforms to take their careers to the next level.
And finally, speaking of the next level, we need a little more detail about the time and place of your anniversary party.
Absolutely. So it's Friday, June 7th. It's at the Powell Art Center in downtown Boston. And it starts at 7 o'clock. It's going to be a great night. You can buy tickets on our website or on any of our social media, which is Dunamis Boston or dunamisboston.org. And yeah, like I said, it's going to be a celebratory event. We're going to have performances. There's going to be dancing. There's going to be food. And again, a celebration of just investing in people.
Thank you both very much, Giovanni Cottle and Jasmine Garcia
Thank you.
from Dunamis Boston.